It's 7 p.m. and we're going to call our Environmental Commission meeting to order. Our first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from our April 5th meeting. We had another meeting scheduled, but we didn't have a quorum, so our last meeting to approve minutes from is from April. Everyone should have received the minutes in email, and I didn't see any comments to correct them in the emails. Are there any comments or concerns about the minutes as they're printed? Okay. I'll move that the minutes will stand as written.
We missed one really good quote from Jamie DeFabio that day, who said, just because they have the right doesn't make it right. That was really great. But we don't have to add that.
Was that at the environmental meeting or was that at a council meeting?
I don't remember.
I don't think Jamie DeFabio's
Yeah, because I don't
remember him here.
I don't have him listed as a person that gave
Oh.
comments. That's,
Okay.
I've never
think
seen
he-
Jamie DeFabio at a.
Scratch that.
yeah, I think that was a different meeting. Okay,
Second.
awesome.
You moved.
Awesome, thank you. We're going to call for a vote. No objections? Aye? Aye. Awesome. So the minutes are approved. I don't see any audience members to give us any presentations today or audience participation. So we'll move on to commissioner reports. And we could just go in the order, starting with Shantu.
I do not have anything.
Oh, roll call. Good looking out, Virginia. Thank you.
Been a summer recess, hasn't it, Chuck?
Yeah, I'm like disorganized. It's usually
It's the haircut.
so. We're all here today, right? Except for James.
Right.
So, Lynn.
Okay, I have just a few things to
Oh,
add.
but you're
so-
here, right?
I'm
We're
here,
doing
yes.
roll call.
Oh, we're on roll call now, yes.
Present. Here.
Chuck. Is here. Crystal.
Here.
Sandra. Here.
P. Flato present.
Shantanu here.
Okay. David.
David Post here.
Awesome. Commissioner reports. We'll get back to the business that I tried to skip to. Shantu, nothing?
No, nothing.
Okay. Pete?
Just real quick, I'm a member of the Twinsburg AYSO soccer board, and you may have noticed that fall soccer has started. Twinsburg AYSO and Twinsburg AC Soccer Club are using the parks and the fields. So if the Environmental Commission has any messages regarding, whether it's trash pickup or keeping our fields clean, I could forward me those talking points and I could send them to the leagues. If we have any talking points or business that we like to spread to those organizations.
It's an excellent idea. Awesome.
When do you need that by, like tonight, like a talking point tonight, or is there a specific
The
timeline?
season started a few weeks ago, but we send out periodic, almost weekly reminders. So the season runs through late October. Probably earlier the better.
Sure.
Is there a problem with trash there?
Not that I've noticed.
Is there anything you have noticed that you're
You know,
concerned about?
The kids are leaving water bottles all over the place and not making it to the trash can.
Oh.
But that's the only thing. A lot of things left around, chairs, stuff. But again, it's another forum to send any messages out that we may have. I'll be happy to be the conduit.
Awesome. Sandra, anything?
So we had that thing over the summer with the waste management company. We did a tour. I was wondering what I apologize that I wasn't able to attend the presentation that Chuck gave to the council after that meeting. And I looked for the video online and I couldn't find it. So as a council member, what's the status with that? Are they interested in changing things up, moving forward, being more protective of the environment, or they... I don't want to waste anyone's time if that's not something that the council is interested in hearing about.
So the first part is the videos can be found. I know that it's on the Twinsburg Talk. If you go to Twinsburg Talk, usually, you remember that Facebook page?
No.
No,
I'm not on Facebook.
Okay, so the Twinsburg Talk, I know it's also on YouTube. If you go on YouTube, and you could search for the council meetings as well.
Okay.
And they're usually there
It's not on the website anymore? That's not the place that I can, They
I'm
used to
honestly,
be.
I'm not sure about that. They might be on the website. I know that they're on YouTube, though. You can search them on YouTube. I know I've done that in the past.
All right, go on.
So, and then as far as the city, what was that, Chuck?
I want to send it directly to her.
Okay, I like that.
Can you send it to everybody? That would be good, thank you.
So, as far as you saying the city not being involved in recycling, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Are they
Well,
interested in,
So I've had some email things going back and forth about, kind of pushing the envelope a little bit, charging for trash and things like that. And it seems like maybe they're not that interested in doing anything more than what they're already doing, except for maybe giving some education to the residents about recycling.
so just so I can make sure I understand, you're saying that you want to charge for trash pickup?
Yes, I'm trying to get some incentive for people to create less trash, like make a goal for the city to be a little bit greener by doing something like that.
I know that the city has not expressed interest, to my knowledge, of charging residents anything at this point. I'm sure that will be talk if necessary, but that's based on finances, not really based on being greener. I don't think they want to charge residents for trash pickup at this point. I don't want to charge residents for trash pickup at this point.
Neither.
So, no, but the question would become, how do we incentivize people without charging them for trash pickup?
How do you? Great question.
That's-
Is there an answer?
Well, that's the question, but I'd say
There
if we
isn't.
charged our residents for trash pickup,
Somebody
see a
mentioned,
lot of angry people.
last time somebody mentioned about, giving the information about, oh, you can't recycle that, and you can't recycle this, and this yes, and this no, and,
Right.
people kind of throw up their hands and say, it's too complicated, I'm just not going to recycle anything at all.
Right.
But if there's some incentive, some small financial incentive to recycle, then when we roll out that education, they maybe won't throw their hands up and they'll say, well, let me figure out how to do it right, because I'm going to save a little bit of money by doing so.
Right.
That's my
Yeah, I don't
idea.
think there's any interest in that at this point right now. I think our job is just to continue to educate so people just on their own do the right thing.
All right, I don't want to waste anyone's
Does anyone
time.
else have any comments or thoughts to that, or would like to see that happen?
I have a thought. So what we're talking about is a behavior change.
Well, it's about setting goals for the city, yeah.
Right, but ultimately that would be a behavior change. And the first step in changing a behavior or change is creating awareness. So that would be our first step. So I know that Waste Management has been sending things out via email and through the bill.
They're
through the city.
contracted to send out one informational thing per year,
So,
which they did send.
so perhaps, creating more awareness on the need, what's required. But the second step to that is creating some type of desire to change. And so, how do you do that? What's in it for me
Right.
to create change? I don't think, being a resident, I wouldn't have much desire with paying more, but there's also ways that we can help create desire through maybe creating awareness. So there is some opportunities.
Do you have some ideas on that? My only one that I know is financial one, but maybe there's
Yeah,
some other
yeah.
ways.
But I mean, it's really a 5-step process. We have to develop some knowledge, like how to change, how to use trash bins. I mean, we see mix, recycle, and trash everywhere. People aren't disposing, having that ability. Then how do you reinforce it? So really a 5-step process for behavior change. And it's, changing someone's behavior takes a long time. But there's certainly a method that we could take, an approach to take, other than charging. I think, I think that we would have it'd be a tough nut to crack. We'd probably go the opposite way.
Right.
I would think.
Right. I think the more you educate, the better. And I think
Create
the
awareness.
outside-the-box thinking is, what are the different ways to educate? We talk about sewer bills, but what else can we do besides sewer bills? That's the outside-the-box thinking is, what are other ways can we reach knowledge to the community? That would be the outside.
Yeah, I think it's also about the messengers. Most of the research says when you're trying to get people to do something, you have to have different messengers that resonate with different parts of our community. We know we have active students in our community who are passionate about this issue, who would be great ambassadors for recycling. The only thing I have to compare it to is Akron, where I grew up, and I think our system is better. because there's less disincentives to recycling. If you accidentally put styrofoam peanut or something in your recycle bin, you get a big note in Akron on your recycle bin, and they don't take the whole thing, which makes you want to just throw everything in the trash and say, forget it, because I'm scared I'm going to do something wrong.
But if you were being charged for that trash and the recycling is free, then the incentive is flipped and you have incentive to get your recycling right.
Yeah, but I think that, you know what, in the grand scheme of things, because this is what I work on 100% of my time, I'll say that being able to have the luxury and privilege to spend that much time worrying about recycling when people are worried about how to put food on their table is just pales in comparison. And so I work on water affordability. That's what I do full time. And so I know that we have a water affordability issue in the state of Ohio. So I can't support anything that adds additional cost to anybody's bills, especially when you're talking about utilities and trash. Right now, it takes a average Ohioan who makes minimum wage 8 to 10 hours of minimum wage labor to pay basic water and sewer services in the state of Ohio right now. Most of us don't make minimum wage, so we don't think about that. So I just think that, and it's the same for both urban and rural communities. So, I mean, we can continue to talk about this, but I know I would not be in favor of adding anything to anybody's bill.
Right. I think it's just safe to say that that's not going to happen right now. You know, we just entered into a new contract with Waste Management anyways, for another couple of years. So it's a conversation being held here is premature anyways. But I think that, again, the focus is on education and how do we educate, and if we continue to educate. Listen, I am recycling different today than I was 6 months ago because of this committee. And I tell my neighbors when I see them recycling wrong, hey, you guys can't put that bag in the recycle bin. And they go, oh, I didn't know that. And I go, there you go. So I think the more we just continue to educate, people will recycle better. You know, just being on this, I mean, granted, I'm on this committee, but I see people doing things and I'm like, what are you doing? You know, and I'm getting like so emotional now, and I'm becoming this like, I'm becoming that guy. Like, don't put that in the garbage. The recycle bin's right there, you know? And so I think the more we do that, but change takes time. And so just because you're passionate about something, we're passionate, people aren't passionate about things.
Exactly.
People don't, if it doesn't affect them, they don't care in general. So.
Did you get a report on how much rejections are they having out, you know, like the type, like when you pick up recycling in Cleveland area, or when they used to pick up, there was a lot more trash into it comparatively. What's the report coming out for Twinsburg? Because that's what,
So they do-
you
they do
remember I was
individual-
trying to talk to you about that last time.
So by the time it gets to the transfer center or sorting center where we toured, it has already gone through a transfer center. Once it goes through the transfer center, it's mixed with every other community that's going to that transfer center. So they do spot checks. And what they shared with us was the level of affluence a community has directly relates to the compliance of the recycling program. And Hunting Valley was their #1 community that they served. We're in the top 25% as far as their surveys, but we could improve a heck of a lot.
Heck of a lot.
So,
But we're way ahead of,
do they
we're way
section
ahead of
off?
Cleveland, we're way ahead of Akron, that's also feeding into that system. And Akron has this mechanism to find residents that don't, that put unacceptable materials in the recycle bin. So we're close, but the best one is one of the most affluent neighborhoods in Northeast Ohio.
Smaller community, better, you know.
No, and that's what I was trying to get at. It's just all about like, you know, education of people, you know, what to put in where. And then if you can section off, even in Twinsburg, then you can take a look at it. It's like, hey, this is where we need to concentrate our efforts on educating. Because like you said, yeah, you can try to do the money thing, but it's just gonna get them mad. And that's just, it does not, you know, then they're like, hey, you know what, I'm just not gonna recycle anymore and trash and whatever, and they're just not gonna be happy about it, so.
So they do like truck side surveys, that's how they get their data, but the thing that screws it up is when unacceptable materials, make it into the recycling center, and Waste Management, or whatever the hauler is, paid to get it there, so they touched it 3 times before it got there. And then they're paying to get the bad stuff out, so the good stuff has value. And each time they touch something that's bad, it costs them money. That was the takeaway. Now, they're in the business of making money, so they're not, they sealed the contract with us. They're probably on to the next town to get a decent contract for them. It really is incumbent upon us to figure out ways to not be to be an agent of change and create an attitude that it's okay to make change. In that conversation we had with City Council that day, it led to why weren't recycle bins in this chamber? Now we have a paper recycle bin in the back of the room.
First thing I asked of our
Bag in
new,
it.
the first thing I asked of our new mayor, my first request, I want recycle bins all over this building. He had it 3 weeks later. Nice job, Mayor Scafidi. It's right there. There's one there. There's, I think, 3 or 4 throughout the building. The next step is to figure out how to get them then at the water park, at the senior center, at the, the community center. That's the next step. So, and that's going to happen. It will happen. I will make sure that that happens. How or when, I don't know, but things take time, but it's a process because you can't just put a bin there, then it's, well, who picks up the bin? How does it get from A to Z? And, making sure that they're not just pulling out the bags, because if they just pull out the bags and throw those in the recycle bin, that's not right. So there's training on how to remove these bags, which Sam has done and taken care of. So it's, I'm sorry, Mayor Scafidi, not Sam. So, so we're moving in the right direction.
This is a great conversation.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing it up. I know it's not easy. I think that, going back to creating desire, the what's in it for me as a resident, that's important. But I'll go back to the barrier point being creating awareness. And Crystal, as always, makes a great comment about communication and how we communicate. And, it takes an adult learner 5 to 7 times to hear that same message through different venues before it resonates with us. So perhaps that's our first step, is creating awareness on recycling. I mean, I'm just thinking that once a year or something in the waste management bill, or it's probably not cutting it.
After the tour, we talked about trying to get together to come up with some messages to put out more than once a year, either through Facebook or other social media, or like what you said to your soccer family, and to repeat the messages and have kind of a constant flow of information and reinforcement. So I think we need to, maybe make some talking points, and maybe outside this meeting, spend some time to get that information together.
I want to thank you for that.
Yes.
So I guess my question for the Environmental Commission is, how do we do that? I'm thinking process. What's the process behind sending messages to the community? Whether it's this or whatever, do we have a process?
I'd like to address that, at least, throw an idea out there. I've been in touch with Twinsburg High School, an environmental science teacher there. Kids are very active over there with environmental science, and she'd be a great speaker. Also, a marketing director at the library has an environmental background, and she can help us with posters and flyers and things of that nature. So if and when we can do a presentation where Chuck comes in, because his presentation, don't raise those eyebrows, was so good. If anybody has watched that, he's every bit as informative and knowledgeable as certainly as Vince Crawford of Waste Management when we took that tour. I think I addressed that with you. I don't know if you got my email about that, Chuck. You were quiet on it. But I'd like to see you get up there. You're very a good presenter. And so if we did something like this, a meeting room is free over at the library, and get the posters out for people. We've got social media on Twinsburg Talk that we can use to get the word out too. I personally, I have to laugh when David said, you don't want to make anybody irate. So if you're like one-on-one, I'll call it kind of not road rage, but we'll call it environmental rage or whatever, recycling rage. But when you're addressing somebody about they're doing something, you have to use a lot of, kid gloves, so to speak. And I was helping a neighbor taking a stump out, and I noticed her grandchildren, when I was like opening up her recycling can, there is a stinky garbage can full of grass clippings. I'm going, oh my goodness. Now, I know Waste Management is contracted with the city, and it's probably more toward their end to be helping themselves when they're having to deal with all these extra plastic bags and yard waste, things of that nature. So I wish they would come out with a sticker, and people that are creating these infractions, put that sticker on their garbage can, just an awareness thing. That's on them. But maybe we need to talk more with them too, as, you know, a contracted vendor. You know, can you do this? That'll help you and help us too, keep things online. But I would like to see us early October. September's already booked at the library, but we can get the word out via posters and email, social media, and hold a small presentation over there, if Chuck would be willing to do that. And we could get some other speakers too, certainly the teacher, environmental science teacher at high school.
Okay.
That'd be great, because you were really good. I don't know if you know how good you were.
Thank you.
I mean, amazing.
He was, he really was. I'm impressed.
Animated would be the word. But
Yes,
that defines
he's a
all
very
of
good
Chuck.
presenter.
That defines everything Chuck does. So, but to answer your question, Peter, I would say that, you know, there are people within the city who, you know, I couldn't rattle off names right now, but I know that there are people in the city who will help us too. I know that, Chuck, you worked with people on the website. You know, I forget, it was one person, but now it's switched people as they move people around. But Chuck worked with them to get the paper shredding thing done. So there are people in the city who are aligned to do those things. Chuck, who was the person you worked with? It doesn't matter, but there are resources. So the idea is, you guys come up with the ideas, whatever it is. Chuck and I will work with people in the city to kind of make that happen, I guess, and find out more. And I'll be your liaison, I guess, at least right now, to put you in contact and figure out who that person is. You know.
It's great, thanks. So I mean, I think it's time to get granular, start identifying who does what by when.
Right.
So we could develop an action
Correct.
plan.
Correct. Well, one thing we said was every 3 months a sewer bill, right? That's one bullet point.
Yep.
What's the next bullet point? What's the next bullet point? Right? That's the next bullet point. You know, email blasts. I mean, you could, in the mayor's report, you know, every month the mayor's report, you know, in those, but not necessarily the mayor's report, but in, you know, once a month when they do the Twinsburg blast, say, hey, click here to find out what is and is not recyclable. Something as simple as that. Sometimes less words, the better. Someone could click there and then to see that PDF of what is and is not recyclable. That could be out in the Twinsburg email blast every month. You know what I mean? Or just things like that. But create that list of ideas and we'll make it happen. Yeah.
I love the idea of educating people. I'm wondering what the incentive for them to actually show up to the education is. You know, we had that document shredding thing. People show up because they have boxes and boxes of stuff that they want to get rid of. So what's the incentive for them to show up to learn about recycling when the way the system is set up, they don't have to think about it? Whether they do it right or they do it wrong, it doesn't matter. As long as the trash that they put at the end of the street goes away at the end of the day, that's all they need to care about. So why, anybody have any thoughts on?
Half the incentive is that we've been stuck in our homes for 2 years, and this is an opportunity to meet your neighbors.
Nice, okay.
And so
I love that.
what I'm hearing from community groups throughout the region is that they're enjoying opportunities to go to places.
Connect.
It doesn't matter what they're talking about. You get an opportunity to meet your neighbors. If we have some refreshments, some food, you get an opportunity to socialize and then also learn something. So
Nice.
if there are youth there, people are going to go to support the local
Kids,
youth.
yeah.
So there are different ways that we can incentivize attending those type of things. And if it was live streamed, there's an opportunity for people to view from home. So I think that there are ways that we can make that work.
Creating that desire.
Sandra, in your words, you honed in on what I think the message really comes down to. It comes down to intent. So after visiting the waste management facility, each time I'm poised with, does it go in the recycle bin, does it go in the trash bin, it's a conscious decision. And it's an intentional decision to do it right. And that decision has gone,
Right. Do the same thing.
that decision has started even before that transaction. At the bin, it starts in the retail store, and I didn't think that that was ever going to happen for me. But there's a conscious decision about what's going to go into the cart if two equally prepared packages have a wrap around them or they don't have a wrap around them. It's interesting how just seeing it had
Plastic water
changed.
versus box water. Box water's better. That's what it says right on the box, right? Same thing.
A day
plastic
without
cap.
plastic, that's what we've done at our organization. We've done challenges where people had to post videos of going 1 day plastic free. And we had a staffer that was traveling, and he was like, I'm in the airport, I'm hungry, I wanted an apple. The apple is wrapped in plastic. And it's so many things that you just wouldn't have, really imagined that are wrapped in plastic, so.
Yeah, like even the organic bananas have a different band of plastic around them compared to the non-organic bananas. It's interesting, and they're all probably organic.
Chuck, do we have a scheduled date when we're doing our e-shredding computers?
No, haven't heard back. So we were getting, the e-shredding was going to be through Summit Reworks, not Summit E-Cycle. They have two similar names and it trips me up. Summit Reworks would have been the one that would fund it, and they haven't gotten back to Simone, so I don't think it's going to happen this year. So then we're going to be pushing to get on their calendar for next year. Because they only do, I think they do 6 events a year. And if we could get them on our schedule, that'll be a little bit better, because the other recycling company, they're good, but when they did the event, they gathered a lot of material from us and a lot of material from a neighboring community, and then we hit their capacity, it seemed, because then they stopped doing events, and they repivoted to bins, so other communities have e-waste bins. The challenge with that is a reluctance to put machinery that might have sensitive information into a recycled bin. So the on-site with the hard drive shredding is the preferred method of e-waste collection. But that company we used before has basically pivoted to like drop-off bins. And they're outside, municipal government, so they're under cameras and stuff like that, but that'd be,
Well, there's more e-waste than just
Yeah.
computer stuff, though.
but that's the
Yeah,
bulk
right.
of what,
I mean, the other company said anything with a cord,
Right.
right?
that ended up being the big burden. And even Summit Reworks, when they do it, they have more limitations to what's acceptable to their program, where it can't be the giant monitors and the old TVs. It has to be relatively new stuff. And there's a reason why they limit it essentially to what has value and what could be extracted with minimal man hours. Because that other, they had a lot of stuff. Okay?
Would they charge you individually if you didn't want to wait till next year and do it as a community process? If you took your computer there, would they get rid of it for you? Or would they?
Summit Reworks doesn't have any e-waste. They contract with a
Oh, I
vendor.
see. Okay, gotcha.
Okay. So hopefully we'll get that on the calendar for next year. Okay. Crystal, do you have anything?
Sure. Real quick, just wanted to let you know that September 17th is the Great Lakes Day of Action. And so if you're interested in getting a team of people together to do like a beach cleanup or something like that on Lake Erie, you can go to greatlakes.org and you can register a team or join another team. It's greatlakes.org. And then also just making you aware that the Ohio Lake Erie Commission does quarterly meetings, and this quarter of the year, they're actually going to be in Cleveland at the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District on September 21st. And so they'll be having a robust discussion about all things water, which includes Twinsburg. So I'm on the commission. I'll definitely be at that meeting and looking forward to the presentations there.
Can you send that out to us?
Yeah.
That's September 21st? And that's located where?
The Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. It's the Ohio Lake Erie Commission meeting.
And that's like in Valley View off of Canal Road or Cleveland. It's like-
I can get the address. I'll send it out.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Virginia, do you have anything?
Yes, Lynn brought up about the stickers for the bins. Is there a way that we can get some of those stickers? Are we allowed to do anything with them? Because I think if we could use them selectively or distribute them to people, I mean, people need to know, have the information, and just say maybe a family, mom and dad want to do the right thing, but the kids are the ones who are throwing the stuff in the bins. So if they see it in the bin, so maybe I'm not going to go stick it on my neighbor's bin, but my neighbor could get one to put on the bin for her own use. So I've seen the stickers around someplace, but they seem to be elusive, shall we say?
Were those stickers, though, from Waste Management probably, though?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
So maybe if we do have an event at the library, have them there, just some way to get
That'd be
them out
great.
to people.
Yeah.
To
that-
self-sticker them?
No, not to sell them, to distribute.
I mean, not sell, so they can self-stick
Oh,
a
yes,
sticker.
yes, yes,
That tells you what's recyclable and what isn't, kind
right,
of.
Like a big sheet of paper. I've
Yes,
seen
yes.
those, and I wonder how people were getting those.
yeah.
So I think it had to do with when your can was dropped off to you, because when we did the document shredding, some of those bins the city had old stickers on the top. The challenge that Vince shared with us about the stickers was, as the recycling programs evolved, the marketability of products and such, sometimes they change what's acceptable and what's not. So Simone was taking back an idea that I had with them, was to make a sticker with a QR code that'll be linked to the city, the Waste Management's website, because the city's website is just linked to Waste Management's website. So Waste Management updates it, it flows to the cities being updated. If we had a code that somebody could hold their phone in front of, it would tell them what the acceptable items are. And that would be something that you don't have to print a new sticker every time it changes,
Makes sense.
so.
Although I think there's a value to have something that I see as I'm getting ready to lift the lid and where I'm going to put the
But
stuff.
the decision's made before you get to that bin, the decision's made at your bin inside your house.
That's what I mean. My bin is in my house. So anyways, that was just my thought on that. And I see you were going to bring up, Chuck, about the old trail, so I won't mention that. Reworks is coming up for the last few weeks, Thursdays. It's through September. So whatever your hazardous wastes, they can be recycled through Reworks through September.
Where are they
computers, right?
located?
It's on,
Oh, they do?
it's in Stowe. I don't know the address, but it's the one that is run by Summit County Reworks.
So they're off of Graham Road,
Right, Grammar.
just to the east of Route 8. Usually, I think they run from 2 to 7, so the first hour and the last hour are your busy times. If you go in between those times on a Thursday, there's no waiting whatsoever. At least my experience. Things that they take household hazardous waste. That could be batteries of any type. It could be oil-based paints. It could be solvents, insecticides, bug killers, weed killers, automobile fluids, that kind of stuff. They're also the provider that we would work with to do the e-waste, but they do not do e-waste at household hazardous waste events. It's specific things. They're also our local source for household hazardous waste, because if we hosted a household hazardous waste event in Twinsburg, one municipality doing it, it would be tens of thousands of dollars for the I think it's Clean Harbors to come out and collect everything and then figure out what they're going to do with it appropriately. So that resource off of Graham Road is an incredibly valuable one.
Do they
That's
take
every
oil and
Thursday.
gasoline?
Oil and gasoline.
Okay,
So it's oil, gas, battery, all that.
Yep.
okay.
If
That's
you
every
have-
Thursday,
up
Until
until
September, through
through
September.
the end of September. But aren't there recycling things right back here behind the middle school? Places to drop off behind in that parking lot?
We
there?
have recycle, it's the same product that goes into bins that are by the water park. Those are the same materials that go in the curbside recycling program. Those bins are there because our condos and
So you can't bring
condos-
paint there?
no, that's not for,
That you can't, I thought someone, you could bring paint, so the paint has to go to the Summit County
Latex paint
Latex paint could go into
in
the
your trash.
trash
You can just put
after
kitty
you
litter.
harden it with either sand or kitty litter.
Okay.
Just put kitty litter in there.
Sand, kitty litter, or sawdust. Something to absorb the moisture quick. Okay.
Has anyone gotten a notice for class action suit against First Energy and Ohio Edison? Should be getting a check in the mail.
I think so.
I think I saw that. I think I threw it out.
Energy, so,
Okay.
price gouging.
So we discussed a little bit about our tour of the recycling center. It's incredibly informative. The scope of that program is just absolutely beyond what I can comprehend. You get to see what the challenges are with waste and recycling. Most of what they get is recyclable. Most of it stays within Northeast Ohio. We benefit from it in our reflective paints on the roads and some other things that are around us. It's feeding the engine of Northeast Ohio's economy because they're getting the raw materials at a lower rate than harvesting new raw materials. It's pretty interesting.
Including even the leftovers are converted into fuel.
Yeah, it was fascinating how they operated.
It goes over to Grand River, Carmier's Line, so.
So that was our tour there. I also visited the wastewater treatment plant. I have some of their brochures. What I learned about the wastewater treatment plant, and my primary concern was after a rainstorm in Cleveland, you'll hear that the beaches are closed. And we do fun things in the creek in our community because it's nice. Like if my neighbor goes stand-up paddleboarding in the creek, and that's downstream from one of many sewage treatment plants. And I wanted to know how does it work? What do they do? And how do we not have those notices to stay out of the creek? Well, one reason is our city does not have a combined sewer system. So our sanitary sewer and our storm sewers are two separate streams. Okay? Older municipalities don't have that same luxury. So it's just one luck of how old our city is. Two was when they built the sewage plant in 1950 something, they were forward thinking to what they had the capacity to clean, maintain. And that plant's been expanded, I think 3 or 4 times since it was created, and they are nowhere near their maximum capacity, and they've taken on additional sewage treatment from neighboring communities to help generate some revenue. They have some projects in the works, including one will be hopefully will be a larger holding cell that'll allow them to expand even more.
From 2 million to 3 million
Yeah.
gallons.
And they gave me a brochure. So the holding cells are your flow equalization basins on the far left. Everything starts from, or far right, and it goes to the left, and it comes back to there. The other improvement that they were hoping to get through would be a UV system to phase out the use of chlorine. The chlorine gas was the one part of the process that they couldn't take me in the building. They couldn't. The other thing that's associated with chlorine is once you put it in the water to stop the bacteria from doing what they do and cleaning the water, before you could release it, you have to somehow stop the bacteria. So they use chlorine to stop it, but then you have to get the chlorine out of the water. So a UV system would improve their overall, the process time. It would reduce risk. Sewage work is one of the riskiest jobs in America. It's not crab fishing. But who's going to watch a TV show about a guy or gal working at the sewage plant? But it's literally one of the highest risk jobs that there are. And it has to do with the depth of these tanks. And they're a 24/7 operation, just like our other safety forces, right? Except they're running science 24/7. So your sewage worker is not just a tradesman. They might be required to do some lab work. They have
Two full-time lab people working.
Yeah.
I just did the tour today.
and they have to make decisions about what their expected flow is going to be and how do they maintain it. So while you have a foreman and a supervisor, it really is some autonomy, because when you look at their 20 or so staff members spread out 3 shifts, 365 days a year, Pete, you're a nurse, you're used to that environment. Suddenly, with call-offs and stuff, 20 people doesn't really give you enough squares to cover 3 shifts 24/7, 365. And they're incredibly committed to their work that they're doing. And they've recruited folks from other sewage plants. So we got in folks from Lake County, we got folks from Tuscarawas County, and then some of our workers come from other departments within the city to work there, because of the way the opportunities that they have to improve their skills and whatnot. You just went on the tour, David? Did I miss anything else?
15 today. I went with the people on the Capital Improvements Board. And it was crazy amazing to see how it's all done. I will say this, that the 3 of us, when you go into the first building up the steps where they pump everything, so basically all the tubes, all the lines go right into one tank, right? Basically, everything comes straight in, and they pump it up on this screw pump that's been used for thousands of years into this one room, and they screen it. It was literally the most vile thing I've ever smelled in my life. Like, when I say vile, take the worst thing you've ever smelled, and the 3 of us, the 3 gentlemen, the 3 of us, one guy said he thought he was actually going to throw up. That's how bad it smelled. And Nate, our foreman, was like, I don't even smell anything. And I'm like, oh my God. like what? Like, I could appreciate like getting used to something. He's like, I don't even smell it. And we're just like, I'm sitting there like I'm gonna vomit. It was so bad. But that's how bad it is coming in, and literally you could take a cup and drink it right out of the end.
Did they explain to you why it smells that way?
Because it's literally just straight from it looks like water. You don't see like, I thought you would see like all kinds of things in there. You really don't by the time it gets here. It looks like the chocolate river from Willy Wonka. Not quite as brown as the Willy Wonka chocolate river, but it's but it's not chocolate, but it's just liquid at that point, but it's just like.
So the room that David's describing, one reason it might have smelled especially rank today would have been we came off a holiday week. So our southern end of the city was essentially turned off. It was a holiday Monday, the weekend, so they had less usage. When there's not much usage, things take longer to get there. The longer they take to get to the plant in the system, the more it ferments, so to speak.
It was fermented.
That first step that he described is the first screen to get solids out.
Correct.
The one solid that we should not be putting into the system are wipes. Baby wipes, other wipes, they claim they're flushable.
Flushable wipes are not flushable, he said.
Okay.
They power wash it every day to get the flushable wipes off the wall. They have to power wash it and clean it every day. It was impeccably clean, the whole plant.
Yeah.
Impeccably clean.
So that,
Did they say anything about pet waste?
that waste,
Pet poop? No?
Pet waste?
it's not gonna matter.
I'm thinking it
Waste is waste.
down.
Michigan is introducing legislation on flushable wipes.
Yeah.
They're not flushable.
I know.
Well, just like when we took the recycling tour, things are marked recyclable that are not recyclable.
Right. So that's the flushable wipes are the one product that ends up in the landfill. Okay.
He said that breaks down their system more than anything else. Just like
And-
putting styrofoam or something else in the recycling bin.
So
Or
they
plastic,
have,
I'm sorry.
they have a mechanical rake to get those out,
Oh,
and
I can't.
then the rest is they're
I'm having
removing
PTSD right now.
they're removing solids, and once they get that paper salad out, other solids they get removed, and they could go into agricultural settings. Okay. if they weren't going to go into agricultural settings, they would go straight to a landfill. Okay. And they're looking at 4 trips a week to remove this stuff from their system,
The sludge.
the sludge. Okay. So thankfully, they have some agricultural things that are close by where they don't have to pay to dispose of it, because that directly impacts our rate. The other thing that's nifty there is they generate about $30,000 in power through a turbine. The turbine's another one of their things on the Capitol that they're hoping to improve.
A wind turbine?
Nope, steam, essentially,
I think it's the
it
it's the water,
burns somehow.
right? We didn't get into that in the tour, how much, but he says that it saves about $3,000 a month.
So how safe is their drinking water?
So this water that comes out of there is crystal clear, and they measure upstream of the creek how contaminated the creek is, and they measure downstream of where they're putting water in. Believe it or
You
not,
drink it right out of the, like, you could literally take a cup, and he said he's had people, like, you could take a cup and just drink it right out of the.
it looked like you could. It was crystal clear.
Honestly, there are groups that are totally dedicated. Drink Local, Drink Tap is a local group that's totally dedicated to showcasing that there's no difference between bottled water and what you're getting at the end of this wastewater treatment system. I think the problem that people don't often consider is not when the water comes out of this plant. It's the fixtures in your home.
True.
And Ohio is number 2 in the country for the number of lead service lines. And that includes your lead fixtures in your home. So even if the city replaced all the lead lines, if you have lead fixtures in your home, there's still a chance that you could be ingesting lead. I know they put orthophosphates in the water to try to make it not leach and all of those things, but it's still a real issue. There's no safe level of lead in the human body.
So if they're saying purified water, it's basically run through the same system in plastic bottles?
That's what I'm hearing from a lot of the water community, which I work in, and that's what they say is, but I
What
have
about spring,
trust
if it
issues,
says
so I
spring
drink.
water?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's usually your tap water is better quality because of what standards you have to meet.
So, but the water that's exiting this plant is not going directly into tap water. What's happening is it's going into our creek, and then our creek feeds into Lake Erie, and then Cleveland Water has a creek that sucks water out of Lake Erie, and then it gets processed in to their water system where it's basically re-sanitized. And
Sure, I think he also said the water coming out is 4 times cleaner than the water that's already in the creek. It's 4 times cleaner, safer, sanitary, less bacteria, everything than the water that's in the creek. So we're actually making the creek cleaner, technically.
yeah,
Lead fixtures, is it only for older homes?
It's mostly in older homes, yeah.
The newer homes don't
They
use
stopped
that, right?
doing, new homes don't use lead.
Like what era would you say?
I forgot the exact, I have a whole white paper on this I can send you, but I think it was 80 or something. It's like.
79 or something was lead
Yeah,
paint.
It was like the end of 70s.
That was
yeah.
paint, so,
But that's when
Yeah,
they stopped
same-
making lead pipes.
as well, okay.
And so, number 1 in the country is Illinois, number 2 is Ohio, number 3 is Michigan. Yeah, and it goes on. But it's a concentration in the Midwest.
so long story short, I have some of the flyers that they handed off to me, and Nate is willing to do more tours for us if we're interested to see how this works. But the one
great tour.
The one takeaway
It's a
that I
great tour.
would offer for residents is if we could cut down on the amount of the wipes, even though they look like they're just heavier duty toilet paper, they're not. There's something different about those that don't break down in the system. The toilet paper and the other solids essentially are broken into a fluid where these wipes just clog it all up. The other contaminants that I didn't think of growing up in a house that had a garbage disposal, food waste. If we could cut down on our food waste that goes into the drain, the easier job they would have. And if we think of food waste, we think of vegetable peels, seeds, a lot of stuff that can be composted. And I hadn't thought that was causing an issue because I figured if it went down the drain, it was gonna be okay, and by the time it got there, it would be broken up, and that's not. That's what's getting compressed to go into agricultural settings. So we could cut that stream out incredibly if we get rid of, save them a lot of effort, if we figure out a way to convince folks that wipes aren't flushable, and food waste going down the drain, even things that already look like they're tiny, like coffee grounds. Not good. And I think back to like what my grandmother cooked to the way my mom cooks. My grandmother kept the fats on the counter. That stuff doesn't exist anymore. So the bacon grease that went into something else, you just take that pan and you start washing it off, and you're putting all that grease into their system. And that's causing them to have to figure out a way to get that material out of the water. So food waste is the second challenge that they have. The third and emerging challenges are your plastic microplastics. And it used to be microplastics were all your cosmetic products, but the microplastics now are polyester clothes. So today, I don't have much polyester on, but there are days when the athletic wear, the wintertime clothing, it is 100% polyester, and it was marketed as sensible and environmentally friendly. Each time you wash those products, little fragments break off, and those little fragments are not caught in the water treatment systems.
There's a thing you can buy and put in
So
your
there's a filter that you can put, if you have an old enough setup that
It's crazy.
your washing machine goes into a tub, you could capture it. But I don't know how the filters work.
I think there's something on the market that's
Okay.
more for today's machines.
Yeah,
I don't have one, but
because I have the old tub style, newer machine, but a tub. So I have a little filter I put on there. So I'm covered in some respect. Ironically, that filter's polyester too. So, but it catches a lot of stuff, which is interesting.
Quick question. You mentioned that the plant was looking to do some upgrades. Do you know if they were able to secure capital budget dollars from the state or ARPA funds?
I don't.
Because when I hear about needed, obviously this is infrastructure, and I know we have a lot of infrastructure needs, but I immediately think of the cost that it's going to go to residents and ratepayers. But it would be great.
It comes from their own budget, from the tax bills.
Yeah, but if they could use a grant, it still makes
Yeah.
our rate lower probably
Oh.
over time.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they
Oh.
got additional funds when all the infrastructure money is available with
Right.
the ARPA funds, or the state capital budget just went through last year. Are those type of things that maybe the water treatment center and then whoever, the water treatment plant in the city, whatever advocacy mechanism they have that's going to Columbus, could try to get funds for that? Because the state budget is coming up too, early next year.
I'll send a text right now, find out. How's that?
Chuck, I have a question. So it sounded like this was an amazing tour.
It was.
See the energy coming from you, from all this knowledge. I wonder if we ever have an opportunity for community tours.
They do.
Earth Day or something.
They do
They do
tours.
open
They do
houses.
community tours.
We do.
The open house thing where you give away stuff, right?
They have kids come in there, they have all kinds of groups come in there.
Get your toilet pen.
I got the pen in my car.
Yeah, I've never heard of any tours there.
Nate's open to it. He was excited that I was there and to see that. It was way more scientific than I thought it was going to be. I figured it was going to be heavy labor, and the labor was spread out amongst all those shifts that the plant runs itself, and the bacteria really
How was the
Those
smell
things.
when you went there?
not as.
Yeah.
I was there when everything was. I was there midday on a Wednesday, so there wasn't the weekend backup from the industrial side of town.
Be
Not to
mindful
plan
what
the
day you
tour.
picked to go on a
And
tour.
they recommended not coming after Thanksgiving
Okay.
because of the food waste and other stuff that really clogs it all up. And the other thing is we have a sewer line inspection truck that they run, and it is, they were incredibly proud of that asset as well, to share how often they're using it and what they're using it for. Okay. So that was my report. Dave, we went around the horn.
I do have one thing. I'm just finishing my text today right now for the improvements for this treatment. Okay, sewer, there you go. Thanks. All right, there we go. Maybe I'll text back now. The only thing I wanted to tell you was, I got an email from David Kleinman. He sent it to all the city council members that there's a community trail cleanup day on September 18th, Sunday, September 18th. It's from 10 to 2:30. It's at the trailhead. It's at the trailhead off of Old Hickory Trail. I don't know if you guys have seen the flyer or not.
That's the one at the community garden, I believe, right?
It's off of by Warren Parkway. It says it's at the Twinsburg MTB, but I don't know what MTB is.
I believe Old Hickory Trail is the one
Behind there,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know what the
There
Twinsburg
is.
MTB is. I'm gonna forward this to him right now and say, what is the MTB?
I wonder if they're making a
Yeah,
bike
perhaps.
trail out of all this, and that's gonna be a mountain bike trail.
That's what was my first thought.
There are some back there.
So, yeah, I forgot to mention that. Thank you, David.
So that's the only thing. It says you bring your shovels and all that and whatnot. So that's Sunday the 18th from 10 to 2:30.
Okay. Do we have any other unfinished new business or anything miscellaneous?
Yeah, so every time I have a meeting, I like to think, what are our takeaways and what do we do when we leave here, right? So it sounds to me like everyone has all these great ideas and all these things together. You know, I think that, you know, we need to talk about all the things going on, but like you said, we need to figure out, you know, it's time to get to the next level, is what Peter was saying, and I agree. So I think that, you know, Chuck, it might be nice for you to come up with a time for everyone to meet, maybe outside of this, or maybe have one of our meetings be that, right? Where we say, all right, you know, we came up with one of the bullet points. He just texted back. He said it's a lot to text about the grant money. He said if you could talk, so I'll call him back in a little bit. You know, we said that the sewer is one of the bullet points, the sewer bill, right? I think that the group needs to come up with like 4 bullet points of what are the ways that we want to communicate and what are the main messages that you want to get communicated. And once you come up with those 4 bullet points of how to message and what are the main things, you just keep figuring out, all right, hammering those same bullet points. And that is, you know, we keep talking about, myself included, that we need to do these things. Well, let's figure out what are the 4 ways to come up with some ideas, you know, and ones that are realistic and cost effective, and maybe try to utilize the things we already have, like social media, or one, if we say that's social media, all right, so specifically, which social media platform, and what's the way we want to get it out, and what is the message, or what is the, and I think if we come up with those 4 things in one, you know, work session, we can then move forward with it, you know, but I think that we just need to do that, you know, so maybe come up with a date or time for, or maybe one of our next meetings, you know, maybe start a little earlier or something, half hour, 45 minutes earlier, and just do that. I'm just thinking out loud, you know, so that way we can actually start implementing. You know, like Peter said, it's all about hitting all these different avenues. Well, let's figure out the different avenues.
What we were able to do with the Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Special Committee with the city is we just had a half-day retreat and was like, okay, we've been talking enough. Let's figure out what is it that we want to do. We actually had a consultant come in, but even if we didn't, like if we want to have a new program where we work with youth, what are the 3 things, a new fellowship program where they can have an internship and kind of we can have a social media fellow, somebody that's helping with activation in the community or education messages or whatever it is, but we need the time to sit down and actually do the work so then we can, you know,
Implement.
in the right places. So
Yeah.
I'd be open to having a working meeting at some point.
Might be, you know, might be nice to see if City Hall is available an hour beforehand. Maybe sit for an hour and a half before the actual environmental commission meeting, so that way you can have a workshop talk about it on record at the meeting so it can get in the minutes of what was discussed and planned, so it's in the minutes, and then, you know, like today there was something beforehand, but if there's a date you guys come up with for one of our meetings, well, I'll see if City Hall's available prior to that, and maybe do the workshop, and then,
There's only one more meeting this year,
oh, is it just one more?
Yep,
right?
October 4th is our next meeting. If you could check with Shannon, or I could send her a message, or we both do it.
All right, or I bet she's gonna hear it right from here.
Yeah, probably.
Shannon, is October 4th available prior? All right, I'll find out from Shannon if October 4th is available. So probably hear this and maybe just let us know.
Okay.
All right, that's our next meeting.
So I'd like to make a motion to excuse our absent member, James. Anyone second? Pete seconded first. Okay. Vote. Yay.
Yay.
Okay, passes. James is excused. Our next meeting will be October 4th with a tentative start time of 6 PM for a work session for our coming year before our 7 PM traditional start time. It is now 8:01, and we'll adjourn the meeting.